This is insane. This is my first episode. This has been a long time coming, guys. This has been a long time coming. I honestly, all right, let's just get into the intro before I even go off here.
Rivers run dry, dust breaths in the air. 2 dark days, do you have a tear to spare? Make a promise.
Hi, babies. This is the phillyhorrorgal podcast where we talk all things paranormal to true crime, all spooky things in between, anything horror related. This is going to be your podcast. I am your host, Morgan Taylor. I am a YouTuber. I am a makeup artist, and I'm also a extreme horror connoisseur. So you could say I love everything horror related. I was born and raised in the city of Philly, South Philly to be exact. And this is episode 1. Episode motherfucking 1. Let's go. Let's go. So oh my goodness. This has been a long time coming, guys. A long time coming. I've been wanting to do a podcast for years. For years, I've been wanting to do a podcast, and it's just amazing that I'm finally just starting to do it. I was like, you know what? This is it. This is going to be it. I listen to podcasts all the time. I watch so many things on the YouTube, and I'm like, you know what? Like, what do I watch so much of and consume so much of that I should just talk about? And this is it, guys. This is it. So I watch everything horror related. Me and my fiance, we are huge horror fans. Like, we watch horror films. I also love horror because it's like an array of things. It's not just consist of movies and, TV and stuff like that, but it's also just like fear itself. So with being, into paranormal, like everything paranormal related to the true crime, it's honestly just an array of subjects put together, which is why I love just saying horror, because there's just so many ranges of it, you know what I mean? And I honestly, I was like, you know what? This is going to be the podcast. This is going to be the podcast. And I'm so excited that I'm finally just doing it. I'm taking the courage and I'm just doing the damn thing. You know what I'm saying? So, yes. All right. So I wanted to answer just a couple questions to kind of so you guys can get to know what this podcast will be and how it's going to be structured and everything like that. And then I'm going to get into my personal experience with the paranormal and why I'm obsessed with the paranormal and my personal experiences at my old haunted house. So that is what this episode will be consisting of. I'm trying to keep the podcast between 25 to 30 minutes long tops. So this one might be a little shorter just because it is my introduction. We shall see. We shall see where this podcast takes us. Oh, and I do want to point out that today, the time I'm recording, it's not Friday the 13th, but I'm uploading this on Friday the 13th. And it's crazy because I didn't even think, I didn't even know this Friday was Friday the 13th. I just was like, all right, I'll have a couple days to edit everything, do what I got to do, and then I'll post it on Friday. And I just wanted to see the date, and it was it says October 13th, and I was like, what? I'm sorry, if you had your speakers up. But I'm just like, what? Friday the 13th? I was like, okay, so this is so meant to be. I'm not even kidding, guys. I wasn't strategizing it to fall on that day. I'm not a strategizer. I should be more so. I'm more of a spontaneous type person. This podcast, I know I've been wanting to do for a long time. I didn't really have a set time frame or specific dates or, all the analytical stuff that goes behind it. I was like, you know what? I know what I want to talk about. I already have the mic and we're going to go. So yeah, it's insane that it's on Friday the 13th that I will be posting my first episode. So this is crazy. But yeah, so let's get into the podcast itself. What made me want to start, like I said, I've been wanting to do a podcast for a very long time, and I absolutely love horror related things. And like I said, I've been watching that stuff for quite some time. So I'm like, you know what? I love talking too. I'm Italian. It's the Italian in me. I love talking. So I was like, you know what? This would be a perfect platform to do that. And podcasts are taking off. Like everybody almost nowadays has a podcast, or if you don't have one, you're listening to one definitely, or multiple ones. So absolutely love that. Got me into the paranormal true crime niche. So of course we're gonna get into that into this episode. I will speak on that very soon. But I can say with true crime was definitely my mother. So my mother watched, I mean, oh my goodness, for when I was a kid, she would always have on the forensic files and, cold case files, true crime shows. And I would always say to her, why are you watching this? This is depressing. Like, this is sad. Why are you watching this? And she's like, Morgan, I don't watch it because, obviously, yes, these circumstances are very sad. She's like, but it's just the fact that these people think they can get away with it. And it's that little itty bitty piece of evidence that is going to lock them away forever. And it's just crazy how these people find these things. And I sure enough started watching true crime stuff myself, like especially forensic files. This is crazy. I was like, this is so good. And then now I'm like obsessed with it. And like I talk about all the episodes I watched to my mom, and my mom's like, you're pretty bad. She's like, you need to get out more. But honestly, that's how I really got into like true crime. I also started recently within the past year watching Bailey Sari, and I'm like, how did I not jump on her sooner? I've always heard of her, but I was like, you know what, let me put her on. And I watch her all the time, and I love the way she tells the stories, and it fascinates me how though people think they can get away with stuff. So that's how I really got into like the true crime niche. The paranormal niche I'm going to explain further in this episode. Where I see this podcast going, honestly, I have no effing idea. Like, I really don't. I want this podcast to grow, obviously. I would maybe in the future like a co-host, because right now I'm solo dolo, so which is fine. Obviously, having another person's like perspective and view on things and just another voice in the mix of stuff. But I do see this podcast growing. This is something I really do want to nurture and grow. And my uploading schedule. So my uploading schedule is... So right now, obviously, this week was only one episode, the first episode, but I would like to do 2 episodes per week. With my schedule and how my life is now, that might be a little much, but honestly, like, this is what I love and thrive off of, so I definitely want to do at least 2 episodes per week. So I'm thinking maybe every Wednesday and Friday uploading a new podcast episode. I'm hoping, I don't know, like 100%, but that is where I foresee this podcast going. And just, like I said, talking everything from the paranormal to true crime to just like spooky things that are just going on. Speaking of horror, before I get like into my personal paranormal story and all this stuff about my childhood home, I found it pretty interesting. Like, so I watched 2 movies this weekend. So as you guys know, The Exorcist just came out, and Saw X came out. So listen, as a horror connoisseur over here, okay, The Exorcist, and this is just my personal opinion, I did not like it. I did not like it at all. I was very disappointed. I was extremely disappointed. I just found that I feel like it was just thrown all together. And I get it, it's horror. Everyone's gonna be like, it's not Oscar-winning film here. But I find it to be, I don't know, it just was like thrown together. It was really just thrown together, and I felt like it wasn't scary. Like, The Exorcist, like, was like the opening to horror films, I feel like, right? So shouldn't it be? I was not scared. I was just like, what am I watching? What is this? I feel like there was like probably the one disturbing scene, I think, in that film. I don't want to give anything away in case anyone hasn't watched it, but it was actually in the trailer, so it's not really giving anything away. But it was when she's like in the church, and she looks like all bloody, and I'm pretty sure it's just wine though, but like she's like all like disgusting, and she's like walking down the aisle, and like the priest or preacher, he's just staring at her, and like she's just like screaming, and like I thought that was pretty disturbing, because I was like, all right, it's like church and stuff, so I definitely have to pray after watching that scene. But besides that, I thought the whole film was just, I don't know, garbage. Sorry, no offense to the creators of the movie. I personally didn't care for it. However, Saw X was amazing. I absolutely loved it. It was just crazy. It was like so good, and like I'm just so excited to see the next one after this, because like, obviously, again, I don't want to give any spoiler alert away, but like, we need to know what happens to that blonde girl, that blonde main bitch. We need to know what happens to her. We need to know, because you know she's not going to get off scot-free here. Like, they're going to torture her ass. But anyway, moving along. Sorry, guys, I'm a little nervous. This is my first podcast, so like ever. Like, I'm used to talking on YouTube. I'm used to like speaking to the camera, but podcasts are different. You know, it's like a whole different animal. So bear with me, please. I do talk a lot. Sometimes my brain kind of scatters everywhere. I'm trying to stay focused here. Focus. But yeah, those were my thoughts about the new films that I saw. Like I said, one amazing, the other one garbaggio. Okay? Now getting into this topic that I could talk about forever. Like, literally for eternity, I could talk about this topic, which is paranormal. I am super excited because I literally just started, like, my paranormal investigation journey, like, within the past couple months. I bought a bunch of equipment. Like, Ghost Hunters has their own ghost hunting equipment. You know the show Ghost Hunters? Yeah. So they have their own ghost hunting equipment, and I purchased it. I think it's, like, St. Augustine, something like that. St. Augustine. I'm sorry if I'm, like, it's definitely, like, St. Augustine. If you search it, like, ghost hunting equipment, like, a whole website pops up for it. Kidding, like, I spent some bread on this, okay? Because let me tell you something, I am that serious. Like, I bought all the things, and, like, I bought my SLS camera, which I am obsessed with. I actually just got that literally the other day in the mail, and I've been using it almost, like, every day. And yes, I have captured stuff. I posted it on my TikTok as well as, like, my Instagram page for phillyhorrorgal. And honestly, I've been getting a lot of different responses, but I caught 2 figures. So that's all we're going to say about that. But anyway, yeah, so I've been obsessed with that. I also got like the voice recorder. I got the REM pod. I got everything. Creepy music box that plays if like an entity passes it and like the music goes off. It's really creepy. I got, what else did I get? I have cat balls. Like, I have a polterscript, which is pretty much like the Ovilus. Like, it has where you speak through it and then like the voice, like words come back or whatever. And that's pretty insane. Like, I did a whole thing on that. So I've been like messing around with stuff, but I'm actually going to this Saturday, the Selma Mansion, and I cannot freaking wait. Like, this is like my first actual like paranormal investigation. Like I said, I'm going to get into like my whole childhood experience at my house, what got me really into the paranormal. But I, like, as an adult, have experienced things as well. But I mean, I cannot wait to go to this place. This has a lot of history. It's from the 1700s. It's right in Norristown, PA. So if you guys are interested and want to like go investigate it yourself, you can. It's like $75 a person to investigate for. You can investigate for hours, for as long as you want. Okay? Like, it's an old building. It's been around for a very long time. And I want to do like a whole episode on that. And then like after, like, talking about my experience, if you guys are interested and want to know, let me know. Let a girl know. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so as for my personal experience in my old house, so this is so crazy. This is what got me into the paranormal. This is something that I've been like really wanting to talk about, because honestly, like, there's people that are gonna have different opinions about this, but honestly, like, there's just things I remember as a kid growing up in this house. Now, this isn't the house that my mom and my sister currently live in. This was a house that me, my mom, and my father lived in, like, prior, when I was a kid. Like, we're talking, like, I think I moved out when I was 6 years old. But there's still things I remember as a kid in this house. So it's pretty, like, crazy. And my mom is not a believer in, like, paranormal stuff. Like, she's very skeptic, but she even says this house had a very bad vibe. You know, she's like, I didn't like, there was bad memories there, but she's like, it just had like a bad omen to it. There was just some darkness to it. And this is coming from a skeptic, okay? So like I said, I've experienced things as a kid that always stuck with me throughout my adult life. And I just really, like, I'm just going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. So I can't give away the actual address of this home because this is being currently occupied by a resident, and obviously, like, I wouldn't want to do that anyway, but I can say that it is a South Philly home, and it was this gorgeous corner property, pretty decent sized house, And it was actually right across the street from where I went to preschool. And it was interesting because during lunchtime, if we were out playing, I would sometimes, if my mom was home, occasionally see her like sitting on the step or whatever. And I'd just be like, oh, like my mom's right there. Hi, like, hi, mom, you know? And so honestly, like it gives like those memories when I think about it. Still to this day, I'll pass by it and I'd like always memories like spark in my head. And it's just wow to think about. It was built in like the 1920s. It's like 3 beds, 1 bath. My personal experience, and if you guys, well, you won't know obviously the address, so you won't. But like people that know what the house I'm talking about, they'll know. When you pass by it, it could be the sunniest of days, and I feel like not 1 ounce of light beams on that house. There's just something mysterious and dark about it. And I wanted to dig more into it to see like owners prior, like what, you know, who lived there prior, and you know, like get more into the real history of it. But honestly, like the house is pretty old, like from the 1920s. That's an old house, so you can imagine as many families as probably lived in and moved out, all that type of stuff. So like I said, gorgeous corner property. I remember passing by it a couple years back. Now again, this doesn't make it paranormal, but this lady that lived there, she would have like all these religious figurines in her window, like outside, like everywhere, like all around the house. And I found it a little odd. I mean, again, she could have been just very religious. And like I said, that doesn't make it like it was like demonic or like there was things going on in that house that, or maybe there was. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like as a kid, I've experienced things, and I don't know about other people before, after me, but like definitely this house has some sadness to it. And, you know, it's just crazy. So I don't know. I thought it was a little weird. She had like all these religious figurines in her window. It gave off like she's trying to protect herself from something bad there. But I don't know. She could have just been very religious and just had religious figurines in her window. I don't know. Who knows? My parents bought it back in 1995. So it was actually 11/28, so not too far off from my actual birthday. Even though it was just a short amount of time there was a lot of things that happened. Well, for me as a kid. I'm not going to get into my personal things that happened, but like things paranormal that happened to me there. So yeah, this house either had something to it. There was definitely a darkness to it. Before we moved in, from stories I heard, and this is what I was trying to dig up because I really wanted to like get like facts. I'm just going to issue a trigger warning. If words that involve like ending your own life like trigger you, like just skip through this one part. But yeah, so this guy who lived there prior to us had ended his own life. I would see him like all the time, figures all the time in my house. I didn't know who it was or what it was. I actually at one point just would think it was like my stepfather at the time because, you know, my father like moved out. There was like I said, a lot of personal things going on, and my mom met my stepfather, and nights I would just think it was him that I would see, but it wasn't. It wasn't. So, you know, there would be nights like I would wake up and I would see like a figure like kind of popping through, and, you know, it's dark so you can't really see. And I would think, okay, well, it's pretty tall. It's like a decent sized figure. So maybe it's just my stepdad checking in on me. And I would go like out and like him and my mom would be sleeping. Or things like just, you know, creaking throughout the house and doors like opening, closing. Again, I didn't know as a kid like that's what I was seeing, because you just, you know, you have a big imagination, and sometimes when you tell your parents these things, they think it's just an imagination, but I think it was a lot more than that. I think I was seeing this guy because this guy obviously held some sadness in him. He ended his own life. So this is like, you know, there's sadness to the house, but I think it was beyond that. And then the things that me and my mom experienced, you know, with my father, like it added, I think, more energy, but not good energy, to whatever was already going on there. So I'm a firm believer in energy, and if you guys are too, then I mean, this should be no shocker to you. Like if there's energy, like we radiate energy. If there's good energy, there's good. If there's bad, there's bad. But unfortunately with this circumstance, there was a lot of bad energy. So, you know, we've experienced things. Now, when we had moved out of the house, another incident happened after we moved out, which was a mother being held captive by her son, and she killed her son in order to obviously escape and to live. So that was a whole other situation that happened after we had moved out. And so, like, I can't imagine the intensity of this house now. Like, I can only imagine, like, what is going on there now. So a lot has happened throughout the years, and I feel like whatever's in there is negative and like it feeds off negative energy. So my personal experience, besides, like I said, seeing the shadow man, like as a kid, which I'm going to get into my next episode, so I'm not going to go too much on dolls, but like my grandmom on my father's side, not my mom's side. So my grandmom on my father's side had given me these dolls as a kid. So she gave them to my dad to give to me. These dolls were like I'm not even kidding, guys. This is what makes me hate dolls. If you guys, well, you don't know this yet about me, but I have a doll phobia. I cannot with dolls. Like, I don't like them. I'm petrified of them. Just looking at them, even if it's like on screen, like if I'm watching a TV show or a movie, I like have to cover my eyes because I like get the heebie-jeebies. I just don't like dolls at all. If I have a daughter in the future, best believe she will not be owning any dolls. Maybe brat dolls, they're fine. I used to play with those all the time, but like not them porcelain creepy dolls. No, thank you. But yeah, so these were like kind of like that, but they had like this like, one had like a pink dress, one had a purple dress. They were like identical. They were just like the ugly stepsisters from Cinderella, but like creepy, okay? And they had like this little string that if you pulled, they would like kind of spin. Like, I don't know what the purpose of them was. They were fucking creepy. I don't like them. And just thinking of them is giving me the heebie-jeebies right now. But yeah, I used to have them. And they would sporadically move. Like, wherever. Like, I knew I would, like, they would always be on my bureau. Like, that's where they were all the time. And I hated them. I, like, did not want them there. They would actually move. Like, I would see them move. And I would always have them on my bureau, but then like when I would come home, they'd be in like different spots, kind of like like Annabelle. When you hear about the Annabelle story, which we're gonna get into next episode, I'm so excited. But anyway, yeah. So I would see like them move, and then like one particular day, I was outside with my mom, and I believe we were waiting for my aunt to come pick us up, and we were sitting on the step. Now my mom, like, you know, again, she doesn't believe in any of this crap, but I think like when I tell her, there's like, I think she like vaguely remembers this story. I don't know. We got to talk about it, Mom. But anyway, yeah. So we were sitting on the step, and I honestly, like, I just remember it like it was yesterday. And you guys can think I'm crazy. That's fine. That's okay. But again, this is my story, and I'm sticking with it. Okay. So we're sitting on the step. Now we had a corner property. So like our one side of the house, like, you know, we had the basement windows right on the side, and still to this day, they have them. Like if you pass by the house, you could see the basement windows. So I remember as a kid, I would like, as we were waiting for my aunt, I was like going back and forth, like running, you know, like how normal kids do. And when I went around the corner the first time, there was nothing in the windows, like whatever, normal, right? I come back around again. My dolls are in the window. Now, can you explain to me how that's possible? So now I'm like freaked out. I see a doll. I see both my dolls in the window, okay? I'm freaking out. I go around, I tell my mother. Okay, my mom's like, I'm like, Mom, you got to see this. I said, is Dad home? Like, is he home? Like, why are they in the window? Like, he wouldn't move them. And I remember her specifically saying, like, no one's home. And I was like, okay, well, all right, come back around. Like, you need to see, like, no, I never leave these dolls in the window. They're in the window. Lo and behold, we go back. And I'm not, like, this sounds like such a far-fetched story. Like, even when I say it sounds insane. They were not there, okay? So, still to this day, I always think I was being pranked that day. But unfortunately, I don't think I was. I don't know. My mom says there was no, like, she's like, you probably just thought you saw them or whatever. Like, you're probably tired, whatever. I was like, no, I saw them in the window. They were not in the window after we left. Like, after we went back around. They weren't there. And I still to this day, like, get the chills even thinking about it. Like, I just get the chills thinking about it. And honestly, like, it's one of these stories that, like, it just sticks in my brain. It's like, it just sticks, you know? And honestly, like, that is what made me really into paranormal. Now, when I was a kid, I didn't know this was paranormal. You're just seeing things. Like, when you're a kid, you see things, like, you don't know, like, what you're seeing. You're just like, what is going on here? But as an adult, I've experienced some things as well, okay? Like, beyond the house, like, after we moved out. Our new house that like where my mom and sister live now isn't haunted or nothing. Like there's nothing wrong with it. But there was things I experienced after my grandmom had passed away that like again made me more intrigued with the paranormal. I'm just like, this is strange. Like it was a little after she passed away, which was a really hard time for me because like that was my homie, like my grandma, that was my life. I love her. I miss her to death, like every single day. I even got a whole like tattoo dedicated to her on my arm. But anyway, yeah, so I was like, sad and everything, obviously. But I remember she used to wear Jean Naté like all the time, wore Jean Naté. That was her scent. That was only her scent, right? So I remember coming home from school and our house reeked of Jean Naté. I'm just like, what like is going on here? And then I was like, Mom, did you like spray some like Jean Naté? Like, did you spray like a bunch of Jean Naté? And she's like, no. She's like, that was like your grandmom's scent. I said, Mom, it literally the whole house smells of Jean Naté. She's like, that's strange. She's like, that was your grandmom's scent. And I said, I know. I said, but I thought maybe like you got some and like sprayed a bunch. Like, and she's like, nope, it wasn't me. And I still remember that. And I'm like, okay, how is that? Like, how do we explain that? Like, because they say when you pass, like, sometimes you can smell spirits. And, like, usually it's, like, the scent of what they loved or whatever, And my grandmom loved her Jean Naté. And it was just weird. It was very strange. So I've had experiences throughout like my life and just things I couldn't explain. Like I'm always like willing to debunk things and go, not everything's paranormal, but there is certain things that you just can't explain. Like I just can't explain it. And so that is what really got me intrigued with the paranormal. I always then like I would watch like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, all these, now that there's like, all these YouTubers doing it. I do think some are a little fake, but there is people out there who are like very genuine and like really investigate and do all these things. But I've been like on like binge watching all of them. So like the Paranormal Files, Colin, you're doing it. I love it. Like his videos are amazing. They're like they're documentaries pretty much is what they are. Like that's what they are. And they're so good. So I've been loving that. I love Project Fear because I actually started watching them on Travel Channel when they were as Destination Fear. So I don't know why I did the air quotes because that's what they were, but you know what I mean? Like now they're not. Yeah, so I wanted to dig up more about my old house. There's a lot of research that goes on to it, so I will definitely do that and maybe like further explain more with like actual facts because that's what I was trying to do. But honestly, like these stories, like I don't know, like they have meaning and there's definitely something, there has to be validity, there has to be truth to them. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, we're gonna look more into it, but honestly, like this house will always hold like a memory. I don't want to say a special place in my heart because it wasn't a good time as a kid, especially in that house. And like I said, I do think things that had happened personally with my mom and I ignited more energy that was bad in this house. The house is still, it's very beautiful. We pass by it a lot and we just go, oh, it's our old house. But like I said, not like ever does any sunlight hit it. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So my final thoughts, I would say, honestly, like there is times that I would want to investigate my old house. Like I said, it's currently being occupied, so I don't know how that owner would feel about that. I mean, I can always ask and they can say no. Hit the bricks. Bye. But also it could be like a good thing. They might go, yeah, like there's like things going on here, like I need to know what's going on. I don't know. I'm excited though for the future of this podcast. I can't wait to see where it takes me. This is amazing. I'm just happy that I'm finally doing this. Sorry if I'm like talking like 10 miles 10,000 miles per hour. Like I talk pretty fast, but I hope you guys can keep up with me. And if not, I can slow it down a little bit. I do have different tones. I'm trying things out, so bear with me. All right, guys. So that wraps it up for today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed. I hope that you guys have an amazing and safe fall. Halloween, it is spooky season, and I'm so happy that I'm finally doing this podcast during the spooky season because this is my season. All right, so I appreciate all the love and support. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I am on TikTok, Instagram, as well, obviously, as YouTube, at Philly, PHILLY, horror, HORROR, gal, GAL. Literally across all social media platforms, that is my handle. You can also email me your scary stories because I would love to hear your personal encounters with the paranormal, anything weird, oddly related, you can email me at the phillyhorrorgal@gmail.com. I want to create a segment on this podcast where I read like scary stories and like things that you guys personally experience, because I think that would add a nice like touch to the podcast. I think that would be really cool. And I also love like reading scary stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you want to watch the video version, which is obviously like the YouTube version, you can see me. And look at this dope backdrop, guys. Do you guys see this backdrop? Well, if you're obviously hearing on audio, you don't see it, but it's like a big red backdrop with all of the serial killers. Like we have Pennywise, Michael Myers, Jason, we have Chucky, we have Leatherface, and we also have Freddy. So we have all of them up there, and it's just sick. Like I'm living for it. So that's gonna be like my Halloween backdrop, and I'm living for it. Yep. Come watch us on YouTube. I'll have the link to everything in the notes for you guys, like to where you could find me, the YouTube channel, and everything. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Stay spooky. Just keep riding, keep going, and be safe. Love you guys. Bye.
Rivers run dry, dust breaths in the air. 2 dark days, do you have a tear to spare? Make a promise.